Dr. Live from Central Florida. I'm laughing as the camera angle makes my eyeball look super weird, but that's okay. Whatever. My topic tonight. So let me know if you guys are there. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. My topic is Mexico, mi hija, and mothers. And so, those of you that know Spanish, mi hija is my daughter. So, Mexico, my daughter, and mothers. What does that have to do with anything? Some of you guys know that we were recently in Mexico. We were in Cancun. It was my second time in Cancun. My first time was on a cruise. And this time we stayed at the Escare resorts. They have a family side called Escare Mexico, and then they have a adults only side called Escare Arte. So you can let me know if you ever stay at the resort. It's all inclusive, meaning that all the activities from renting kayaks to paddle boards to their pools, the multiple parks that are attached to it that have aquariums, that have a zoo, um, zip lining, water slides, events, shows are all included. It really is a good deal. I don't love all inclusives because I'm not I'm a foodie, so I like really, really high quality food. So the food was good, but I'd rather pay for the food that I want to eat, and then also I don't drink. So if you're into all you can eat food and into all you can drink, then it is an amazing deal with the parks. So the parks are really cool. Hi Amanda, hi Shanae. So let me know that you guys are there. So highly recommend Eshkare. I'll type it in the chat. Parks, and the flight from Miami is an hour and a half. So flight from Miami is easy peasy, no big deal. I'm having trouble on Instagram, guys. Easy. I have friends that flew out of Texas. They had direct flights out of Texas, easy peasy. And so really enjoyed our time, really had a nice time. We were there with Celcor and really enjoyed the activities. One day, Lee and I went to the Escare Parque Mexico, which is their park that has different animals. It has Mexican heritage, Mexican culture, jaguars. It has ruins there. It has an aquarium, dolphins, stingrays, turtles, manatees, butterfly area, an aviary area with toucans, and a golden eagle. And then they have what we brought Jason on Saturday. They have a caves, and so I didn't know that Cancun, of course, has their Caribbean Ocean, which is saltwater. But then within Cancun, they have caves with freshwater, and so that park has a tour or trail, if you will, that you can swim through all these caves, which is really, really cool. If you're claustrophobic, maybe not the best thing, but really relaxing. And so when you're in mineral water, when you're in spring water, you absorb minerals, which is awesome. So you guys can let me know if you have local springs. Like in Florida, we have a park called Blue Springs there, and it's known for having manatees, which is cool. There is another park that has a spring that you can swim in, which is freezing cold, but really cool. There's a park called Delion Springs that you can swim in, and has kind of like a spring, but kind of roped off area. Right by the office, there's a spring called Wakaiva Springs, and so lots of people kayak there. The water is crystal clear. You can see your feet in the bottom. You also can see wildlife that you may or may not want to see, like snakes or alligators here in Florida. But beautiful parks. So you definitely have healing capabilities when you're in spring water, because you're going to be absorbing the minerals in the water. A lot of people feel better when they're at the beach because they're absorbing the salt water and absorbing the minerals from ocean water, right? And you're grounding when you're on the sand. So Mexico is awesome. No testing to get in. Yes, you do need a U.S. valid passport. But the Mexican customs was very kind. Actually, it was funny. There was a agriculture dog there named Scooby Doo, and my daughter loves Scooby Doo. She has a Scooby Doo stuffed animal, and so she brought Scooby Doo stuffed animal with us. And then I always am aware of like what can be brought into a country because they want to make sure, especially with citrus, they don't want you to bring Florida citrus to Mexico. They don't want you to have Mexico citrus in Florida because there's different citrus type of diseases that can be cross brought. And so I'm always very aware of that. And then I know that you can't bring open meat or open cheese or open any kind of produce. You can have it on the plane, but you can't bring it into the country. So I was aware of that. And I thought I was doing a good job because I did have some meat sticks and I did have a sealed package of Applegate ham and a sealed package of mozzarella. And it was interesting because I was reading the agricultural sign to see what was okay and what wasn't. And I knew that the grapefruit I had to be consumed on the plane, which I did. So then we got into Mexico. I'm reading the agricultural sign just to make sure we're good because I don't want to cause agricultural issues. And Scooby Doo, the customs agricultural dog, went straight up to our food snack bag that Jason was carrying, and she alerted her handler. And I'm like, "Oh no, Scooby Doo's telling on us!" And they confiscated our beef. You're not allowed to have beef jerky, so sealed beef jerky, like 4 or 5 sticks of that. Confiscated our pack of mozzarella cheese, but we were allowed to have the Applegate ham, which to me was kind of weird. Confiscated a couple things. I'm like, man, Scooby Doo, come on. And so the handler thought that it was funny that her dog's name was Scooby Doo and then that she was working with us and Leah was holding on to her stuffed animal Scooby Doo. So yeah, so just an interesting customs. You could bring ham, but you can't bring mozzarella because they consider that um, not processed, even though I think it was processed mozzarella, not fresh. And you can't bring in beef sticks. So I thought that was very, very interesting. So that those snacks did not make it through, which was kind of a bummer. But yeah, it was beautiful. I highly recommend going this time of year. It was pleasant, but I can totally see in the summer it's going to be outrageously hot. Yes, you have the ocean breezes, but whew, but everybody at the resort was really friendly. TSA in Mexico is very friendly. The Mexican people that we encountered were very friendly. I had a great time. Remembered all my Spanish, so that helped us out. But not needed. Most resort staff speak English too, but definitely helped out to know another language. And then from a homeschool standpoint, Leah learned more Spanish words, which was awesome, and learned about exchange rates and customs and how to make chocolate. And it was awesome. So if you're looking for a trip, highly recommend the Escare Resorts. I'll type how you spell that. It's Caret. If you guys are a couple, then maybe you would go to the Arte, which means art, which is adult only. And then if you're family, then I would recommend the Escare Mexico, which is for families. The rooms were nice, the beds were comfortable, the resorts were clean. I've been staying in different chain hotels in the US, and it seems like they've been skimping on cleaning, and definitely they now ask you if you want your room clean or if you want the towels changed or if you want the maid service to come in. I'm like, why are we asking this? This is weird. But the service was top notch. So highly recommend that. Hija means my daughter. And so I encourage you guys to take your children to different countries and teach them different languages and different cultures. She did awesome. She's an amazing traveler. I'm so proud of her. We left Miami on Wednesday at like 12:30. Got there at 2. That wasn't bad at all. Got to the hotel. She was a trooper. But on the way home, they want you there 5 hours before your flight. So we left at 5 a.m. in Mexico, and we got on the bus at 6 a.m. And then our flight was delayed out of Cancun, and so we didn't get into Miami until 3:30, and then by the time we got through, or 2:30, and by the time we got through customs, it was 3:30, and we didn't get home till 8 o'clock that night. And she was just a trooper. I'm so proud of her. And one of the keys to that is we may have some more treats on vacation. For the first time ever, she had the dispenser ice cream, the chocolate and vanilla ice cream, but it's not an everyday thing. It's a special treat thing. And she had vanilla gelato, and I had strawberry gelato. So it was a very special treat. It wasn't all day long. It wasn't unlimited, and it keeps her healthy. It keeps her traveling well. You know, kids get grumpy when they're hungry, so we definitely travel with snacks, with healthy snacks. Kids get uh, unpleasant when they're overtired, so taking into account, you know, I always see being here in Orlando, when we used to go to Disney, we don't go there anymore, but when we used to, I remember seeing parents like dragging around their kids that are absolutely exhausted. Do not come to Orlando in the summer to do the theme parks. It is crazy hot. And if you do, consider going to the water parks and consider doing half days. So maybe part day you're at the park, and then part day you're kind of hanging out at the resort and resting. So some travel tips on that. And then when I go to another place, so you guys can let me know, have you been to Cancun? So I've been to Juarez, Mexico. It was the very first time I've been to Mexico. It's when I was working with the PDL semi-pro men's soccer team. They had a game in Juarez, El Paso. I want to say El Paso, Texas. And after the game, we decided to pay a dime, to pay 10 cents, and walk over the footbridge from Texas to Mexico. And we had lunch, and it was very pleasant, and it was, you know, interesting experience. And I love Mexican food. I love any kind of cultural food. I just think it's so good. And then I remember on the way back, one of the athletes was working with the semi-pro men's soccer team. One of the athletes, you have to have a valid passport to get in, but it has to be valid within so many months. So, like, if it's expiring in a month, that's not going to work. If it's expiring in 2 months, that's not going to work. Most countries don't want the expiration date. They want it 3 months or 6 months. They don't want it that close. So, one of the athletes, his passport was valid, but it was expiring in a month, and they tried to keep him in Mexico. I've never seen a grown man look so terrified before. He did not speak Spanish, and my coach at the time that I worked for did not speak Spanish. And I don't know how he negotiated this athlete out of Mexico, but they wanted to keep him. And I think they wanted to keep him because if you had a lineup of soccer players in front of you, he looked like a beautiful soccer specimen, right? So he had like the quads are four muscles in the front of the leg. So his quads were defined. His leg muscles were defined and very strong. He had six pack abs. He was strong chest, strong arms and back. And so if you looked at his physique, he was like, yeah, you would pick him, right? But on the field, his brain got in his way, and he would make bad errors, and you know, not he would make mistakes that a semi-pro athlete shouldn't make. So, anyways, I think the Mexican officials thought, hey, well, let's keep this guy and maybe he can help their team. And they weren't going to let him out of Mexico. My head coach somehow talked him out of it, and we got him back. But it was pretty crazy. And so that was my first experience in Mexico. And then my second experience was on a cruise that had a stop in Cancun and Belize and Rotan. And that's where we did Tulum. We did the pyramids in Tulum, which was really interesting. And so this was the third time I was in Mexico. And I it's hard to, I don't know if you guys feel like this when you go on trips, but it's hard to disconnect from who you are and what you do, right? So um, I don't identify myself as a doctor. Like when people ask for like any credentials before it, I won't do that unless there's some reason for me to do that. I don't ask strangers that I don't know to call me Dr. Palmer. It's more of a patient thing just because of what I do. But if I introduce myself, like I met a new neighbor today, I introduced myself as Lisa, right? And so when I go on a trip, I try to decompress and I try to um, recharge my batteries and do fun things with my family and try new adventures, which the cave paddle, like you had this raft and you paddled through the caves, which was really interesting. I'll have to post some of the video. And we swam through the cave and we did a tour through the cave. So it was really, really in all different parts of the cave and did some hiking through the cave, which, you know what, when it's freaking hot, it was very pleasant in there. Hey, Mary. And so my adventure brain was having fun. Like, I love zip lines. I love hiking. I love exploring new areas. I can snorkel. I can swim. All that stuff. Like, I'll be there with you. I will totally do that. I have some colleagues that are like, "Ah, I don't want to do that, but I will totally try that stuff out." And so my adventure brain was very, very happy. My relaxation brain was trying to reactivate. That's a little bit more challenging for me because I'm always thinking and processing, and I wanted to really turn off my doctor brain. And I couldn't because there was a little girl at the resort and she was in a wheelchair, but it wasn't a seated wheelchair. It was almost like a laying down bed wheelchair. And when I observed her, and again, I was trying to turn off my doctor brain. When I observed her, she had one eye that went forward and the other eye just kind of didn't track properly. And so it told me that she probably couldn't see very well. And then I looked at her and I thought, well, her body looks like she's probably around 4 years old, maybe 5 years old, but she couldn't communicate. She couldn't talk. And then I noticed we were on the bus next to her and she was in like the wheelchair area and her parents were sitting behind her. And I appreciate that we're looking to do a fun family trip. But it appeared like she was having seizures to me. But she had such frequent seizures, like her body was shaking, that it didn't even alert her parents. Her parents just kind of like tapped her leg like it was a normal thing that happened all the time. And so then, of course, the doctor brain in me starts to wonder, like, what is the cause of this? Was it a chemical toxin that she was exposed to? Was it a metal toxin that she was exposed to? Was something that entered, we'll say it like this, something that entered her bloodstream that shouldn't have been there? Was this a birth defect? And then if it was, what caused the birth defect? And so I felt for the family because it is, you have kids can be challenging, right? But to have a kid that can't communicate and can't tell you how they feel and can't tell you what they need and can't tell you anything, that has to be extremely challenging. And then to have a 4 year old, 5 year old that's in diapers, that has to be challenging. And then to have a daughter that age that's disabled. And I started to think, like, okay, here I am on vacation. Like, we're not doing enough, right? Like, we need more people in the holistic arena to educate these moms on, how do you get healthy before you have a baby? How do you continue to have health during the pregnancy? How do you ensure that you will be able to breastfeed and do so healthfully, right? And then how do you raise a healthy child? And so I started to think about that. So part of me, I don't want to say felt guilty because that's like my Italian guilt, right? But part of me was like, how dare I like spend a day doing fun stuff when here's a family sitting right in front of me that is suffering. How, and so, while I was gone, I did the academy, and I did one of the masterminds. Christina helped me with the other mastermind. But I don't, the way that our society is, and maybe I'm wrong, and you guys can tell me, but the way that our society is we need more people, so grassroots level. I don't care if you're a doctor, a nurse, a dental hygienist, a dentist, an acupuncturist, a massage therapist, a personal trainer, a health coach, or someone who just is interested in changing healthcare for the better. Please get that data out. Please post on Facebook. Please post on Instagram. Please talk to your friends. Please talk to your family. Even if you feel like they're not listening, try to have the conversations anyways, because it maybe be that one conversation that protects that kid from damage. It might be that one conversation that keeps that child from having something inserted in them that is potentially hazardous. Robin, yep. So Robin, I see your post that you're trying with your essential oils and with what you do. That's awesome. Well, could you guys imagine if you just took your direct circle of influence, like you took the people on your street, or you took the people in your church or your synagogue, or you took the people that you direct had contact with, daily, and you just sprinkled a little bit of data in there on, how do you eat healthy foods and how do you um, what do you do to avoid chemicals in your laundry or your cleaning detergents or your food substances or whatever, right? Like, what do you feed a kid? I hate children's menu, right? Like, I wish children's menu would go away because what's on a children's menu? It's just junk. So I really, really want to encourage you guys to help those moms, to help them understand, to help them learn, to share your stories, to share your experiences. I think a lot of people really respond well to sharing your experiences. A lot of you guys know, 2006, my body crashed. My hair was falling out. I kept gaining weight, even though I was working out, running on the soccer field for 90 minutes. We were short players, so I played midfield for 45-minute halves. I worked out with a personal trainer. I worked out way, way, way more than I do now, and I was less fit because my body was damaged. I had dizziness attacks, I had anxiety, I didn't feel good, I was nauseous a lot. I had food poisoning more than any human should have food poisoning. And through the work that we do, I found out along the way that I had heavy metal toxicity, I had mercury in my system, I had parasitic problems, I had chemicals in my system. So health is not like, okay, this happens and you're done. Health is a journey because the air we breathe is polluted, the water we drink is polluted, the food we eat is polluted, the planet is polluted. More so now with the recent events involving transportation. I don't know. I don't want to get this video banned, but things spilling into the water supply. We'll just say that. And so, if you guys need help, if your mom and something like your kid has chronic food allergies, has chronic environmental allergies, has asthma, that is not normal. It is common, but it's not normal. If your kid's allergic to the cat, that is not normal. It's common, and there's reasons for that. And through what we do at the office called quantum nutrition testing, we can identify the causes and then help rebalance the body using whole food supplements, rebalance the body using homeopathy, rebalance the body using herbs. I was talking to one of my associates today, and we're going to have an event on April 1st that you guys are all invited to. And we have like little stations. So we're going to have like a bounce house and quantum scans and free massages and food and all this stuff. And we're going to have a little station with potted plants. And so one of my staff's like, oh yeah, we should get like flowers. I'm like, no, why don't we get like herbs so you can actually eat them? Like the little kids can learn where our food comes from. And so we're looking at doing basil and parsley and stuff like that. And so being Italian, I love fresh basil. And so I'm not even kidding, like I have a pot like this outside, and I had basil all through it. It went crazy. And then during the winter, it all died and went to seed. And I didn't pull it out. I didn't leave it. I didn't throw it away. I left it there. And so now the basil's coming back. The seeds are regenerating. It's the cycle, the cycle of life, right? And so in a couple weeks, I'll have basil, which is awesome. And so that plant that died went to seed, and it recycles itself, if you will. And we have fresh basil. So all those little tips hopefully can help you guys. If you need our help, please reach out to us. You can private message me on Facebook and let me know what's happening, and I can help you however I can. Robin says she never fed kid food and made two different dinners. Yeah, so there's some moms, you guys are crazy. And I don't mean that in a mean way, but why are you cooking three different things? Unless you own a restaurant, I totally disagree with that. My mom made one dinner and she made it from scratch. And if I didn't like it, then used to make me eat it, which I don't know if that's right or not. I didn't like it. I loved everything my mom made. So you guys can let me know, what was your least favorite dinner? My least favorite dinner she made was salmon patties. And this is why I didn't like it. She would take canned salmon and she'd mix breadcrumbs in it and like fry it in a pan. And the canned salmon, if you've ever had canned salmon, has like little bone pieces in it. And you would eat it and you would get the crunchy bone, which is good for you, but I just think it's disgusting. So I would eat the broccoli or I would eat the green beans or eat whatever else she cooked. And I kind of mush the canned salmon patty around my plate. And then I was responsible for feeding our dog. And so I would, when she wasn't looking, take the canned salmon patty and put it in a napkin and shove it in my pocket and go give it to the dog. And the dog loved it. And I did that for a long time until, I don't know, I have an honest streak. And I told my mom, I said, look, my pocket's wet. And she's like, well, did the dog jump on you? And I'm like, no. She goes, well, did you spray yourself with a hose? And I'm like, no. She's like, then why are you wet? I'm like, well, what I've been doing is I've been taking my salmon patty and putting it in a napkin and shoving it in my pocket, and it leaked on my pocket, and that's why it's wet. She's like, Lisa Ann. And she made me sit there and eat a salmon patty. And it was so gross. Like, I totally believe that you should have your kids try stuff, but I don't believe in force feeding them things that just don't indicate. And salmon, just I like wild salmon. I love smoked salmon, but canned salmon with little bones, bleh. And Robin says bletch or belch, I guess. So maybe you feel the same. Okay, cool. Well, hopefully, you guys got a little bit more data on Mexican travel, on raising kids, on our current scene in our healthcare system. If you're having symptoms, if you are having issues, if you need help, please reach out to us. Dr. Lisa Palmer, Dr. Mama Bear. Good night, everyone. Bye.